Hey everyone, I'm Thor Draper Jr., and welcome back to the Cyber Journey. What an absolute hectic week! I spent the first part at the Microsoft corporate headquarters in Redmond and came back pretty fired up because one of the presentations there touched on the state of the growing cybersecurity skill gap. And something that resonated with me was just the role that traditional education wasn't filling. And it made me think about this channel and what my goals are. And really, that's going to be to give specific and actionable advice. So today we're going to be diving back into the world of Reddit and answer another question. And this time it came from a user that already had a few years in IT and successfully made that jump into cybersecurity. So now they're trying to make that jump into a US market. So I'll be touching on the breadth versus depth of knowledge approach, as well as talking a bit more specifically about the domains that you might need to focus on for security. Forgive the hair because I just got back from the Panthers game. And it was entertaining, but another loss. Anyway, we move on. First question time. Illustrious Thing 763 says, I'm a 2024 cybersecurity UMD grad with 4 years experience as a product support engineer in India and 1 year as a security analyst in the same company. I'm looking for a job in the US and have applied to 300 plus companies and have only gotten 2 calls so far. They want to know what they're doing wrong. Is it their 1.5 page resume? I can answer that one reading the question. It's not. And is it the fact that their cyber related experience isn't enough? What should they do next? So, first off, congratulations on doing the right thing. Searching within your company, I think, is a method that isn't used enough by people. If you work in an IT role and you're trying to get into security, being an entrepreneur kind of works. And that's just making your own career within your role at one of those bigger companies. Actually, it can be at a smaller company too. From my personal experience, I started out at an MSP and I just asked for roles. And right now, you probably caught the news where Amazon was requiring a bunch of people to return to office. Anytime that there is decisions like that in this field, if people are asked to do something that they don't really agree with or kind of inconveniences them, sometimes you can, if you have experience, you can move around. So if you're the person who raises their hand and just asks for more responsibility, you might end up getting it. So I would just not rule out any method to move up and start attaining roles that can advance your career. I just think it's a smart play. I also like this question a lot because it touches on a market that I think a lot of people find themselves in. The advice of just getting yourself in the door and then more money and opportunity will follow. I don't know if that's 100% the case everywhere, but sometimes you do have to take another approach and continue that networking and marketing of yourself in order to get the exact role that you want. So let's break down some of the things that they talked about. Initially, seeing that they've applied to 300 plus jobs makes me feel this isn't a very targeted approach. Applications are time consuming. I know what it's like to search through pages of job postings, but what you have to realize is everything is more accessible to everyone. And the fact that sites like LinkedIn, Indeed, and Monster all have easy apply buttons should show you that the volume of applicants is higher now more than ever. Couple that with people actively encouraging others to apply for things that they aren't 100% qualified for, while also admittedly applying in an industry that's pretty terrible at having legitimate requirements on jobs postings. It's kind of a disaster right now. Regardless, 300 plus says there isn't intentionality behind these applications. I may sound like a broken record, but cyber, in my opinion, has the highest demand for an IT person's soft skills. 2024 is going to require that you use all of the tools at your disposal. You'll need to work and network virtually at a minimum and in person where possible. Our job titles are all online, and most people will allow you to message them without paying for something like LinkedIn Premium. So you'll need to start setting up some informational calls and chats with people on their LinkedIn profiles. I'll post the link to the Reddit thread because we went back and forth on this a little bit, but a big point of emphasis from the asker was when to ask for referrals. Now, I want to make it clear for everyone, networking shouldn't just be about referrals. It's a long process that has a lot of conversations that won't necessarily go anywhere. But if you turn around and ask for a referral, it feels a little, I don't know, tacky. I mean, the person doesn't know who you are, they don't know your quality of work. I think the right thing to do in the early parts is to show the other person that you're doing some targeted research, some things that should matter to you, and what you want to specifically ask about is the technology stack, their current cyber posture, and if growth opportunities exist on those teams. You want to make sure they align with your goals and values, you know? Other things to accomplish with networking, and this is probably starting to go into like a mentoring relationship, is you have a lot of responsibility as a mentee or the person approaching someone for some guidance and advice. It's up to you to take those actionable items and takeaways so that way you can turn a one up conversation into something that might have a semi regular cadence. And that doesn't have to be the goal for everyone that you reach out to. If you wanted to know the best methods to do so, reach out to people early, reach out to people often. When you have a question, try to fan that question out to everyone that you think might give you a helpful answer. And because you get an answer from one person doesn't mean that you stop asking the question. You want to crowdsource. You're not going to get a definitive answer because a lot of these questions are going to change from organization to organization. It's just a good idea to always hear things from multiple people. My method for doing so is to reach out to people and ask for 10 to 15 minutes of their time to discuss the topic. I just ask to pick their brain. And for instance, if you wanted to say, ask a question about a job or a place, I'd like to get advice on a job where you work. You know, chat is okay, calls are better, video calls are second best, and in person are all number one. In person's not going to happen the first time that you reach out to somebody, but if you have a semi regular cadence, then you can probably have a sit down talk at a coffee shop somewhere. But you want to be specific. So that message that I put was just, I'd love 10 or 15 minutes of your time to pick your brain about getting a job at Microsoft. And a lot of times you would see people actually respond to that because 10 to 15 minutes, that's something that most people can donate. You know, just give back. It probably feels good. Circling back to the referrals, I think they're nice, but in 2024, I think they have as much weight as extracurricular activities. They're nice to have, but not required. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee anything at this point. The best method is always going to be building that networking relationship with someone in the hiring process, and you have to do it before the posting opens. It's that mantra, you need to be ready for the opportunity, not get ready for the opportunity. Outside of just a person in the hiring process, it's a good idea to shape your LinkedIn algorithm to include recruiters. Ask them what the industries in their area, which ones are most dominant, which certs they're looking for, who's offering the best comp plans, what comp plans look like. Doing everything with a bit more intentionality is going to be the best driver here. Things are just so wildly different everywhere. Security at a bank is going to be wildly different from security in healthcare. Governance, company size, funding, all those play a huge role in your day-to-day responsibilities and what you're going to be expected to do. A targeted approach is going to give you the most accurate roadmap to achieve a specific role. The beautiful thing is, for people who are trying to break into cyber, you actually have the opportunity to find the right role, reach out to the right people, and do the small things that are going to help accelerate your career, because this is a cyber journey. It's a long process. And remember, roles might be great, but if you don't mesh with the team and you don't mesh with the manager, there's a pretty popular saying that people don't quit on a company, they quit on their management. So if you can do a little bit of background tests for yourself to make sure that you're going to thrive in that environment, I think it's a good idea too. The other thing I wanted to touch on was some depth versus breadth of experience. I saw this image the other day where it introduced this T and it shows you the breadth of knowledge is the top part and the depth of knowledge is the small part, where it just goes deep into a specific topic. And I think if you're trying to crack into the industry, it's really worthwhile to consider that breadth technique. You have to know the foundational stuff. So many roles are going to be open to you as long as you're well-rounded. The deeper part comes a little bit later, where it really is important for you to know the tech stack that company is working in, so that way you can hit the ground running. Just keep that in mind, because if you're targeting this, you want to ask what are the focus points for that specific team? What is that individual's goal? What are the metrics or the things that their management wants to push? You can only get those things from people who are working there on the team. And once you start figuring that out, you drop that in the interview, and now all of a sudden, where you would have hit a single beforehand, you suddenly are hitting doubles, triples, and home runs. So it's just something to consider, especially as you're trying to narrow down what the right role is. There's no intentionality. Breadth is definitely going to be the way to go. With a lot of intentionality, you have the ability to maybe touch on something that's an initiative to help you dominate that phone call or the phone screening. And interviews are one on one. And if you can do anything to meet someone in that process, it'll just help you a little bit more. And the only way to find those people is by shaping your network, building some relationships so that way you can get these nice, good quality referrals or recommendations for, people to set aside time for you. So with that, I just want to thank you for giving me the time. I'm Thor Draper. This is the Cyber Journey, and good luck, everyone.